Call this meeting of the Board of Education to order. Chris, could you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Detzel?
Here.
Mr. Harlow?
Here.
Mr. Heather?
Here.
Mr. Engel?
Here.
Mr. Detzel?
Here.
Would you all please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Everyone has received a copy of the meeting minutes from our May 8th meeting. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any additions or corrections? Chris? Motion passes 5-0. At this time, we'd like to have Terry Williams come up and recognize some employees from the Transportation Department.
Thank you very much. We again this month have two employees of the month. Vicki Reese has been driving for us for nearly 16 years. Vicki also grew up in the district. Vicki's mother was a driver who just retired 2 years ago? Yeah. 2 years ago with 30 years service in here of driving the school bus, so like mother, like daughter. She's not trying to follow in her footsteps or anything like that, but she is. When Vicki isn't here, she's serving the community. She loves outdoor camping and camps out and does that kind of thing in her spare time. We appreciate her. She's done a great job. Her students love her. Her co-workers love her. And we'd like to present her with this certificate and this cup. Vicki, thank you so much. And also have Lisa White. Lisa's been driving for the district for 6 years. Lisa and husband of 28 years like spending time with their nieces and nephews, and they have them here she has them with her this evening. Before becoming a driver, Lisa worked with United Medical and United Health for 20 years in numerous positions, starting in the mailroom, became an administrative assistant to the CEO. Lisa received Perfect Attendance Award last year, and so far this year, she has perfect attendance. In her spare time, she loves riding Harley-Davidson motorcycles. Lisa, thank you very much. Okay.
And can you share with us who came with you this evening?
Yeah.
Me?
Both of you, sure.
I'll go first. When I call your name, stand up. My husband Andy. Stand up. My sister, Terry Beth. Her son, Noah Freeman. And Greg Freeman. And my niece Emily and her daughter Brooklyn.
Aw. Congratulations to both of you. Okay, now I'd like to invite up Kevin Kane. I believe we have some teacher recognition.
Hello, I'm Bethany Miller. I'm the Vice President of the Northwest Association of Educators. Kevin asked me to present our Distinguished Educator Award tonight. I'm pleased to make our fourth presentation of the NAE Distinguished Educator Award. The association is proud to recognize the excellent work that our teachers do each and every day for our students. Tonight we are happy to present the Distinguished Educator Award to Kathy Grimm, Coleraine Middle School art teacher. Kathy was nominated by her colleague Laurie Lynn, who had the following to say. A number of years ago, Kathy saw the need to recognize our veterans. She was the driving force between creating the annual ceremony that honors the family members of Coleraine Middle School students who have served in the armed forces. Each year, between 50 and 60 veterans receive a certificate recognizing their service for our country at an all-school assembly. Kathy, along with Mr. Kevin Kane, spend many hours making sure each ceremony goes off without a hitch. Additionally, for the past 15 years, Kathy has volunteered her time after school with students engaged in the Architecture Club. This club works with the Architectural Foundation of Cincinnati in association with AIA Cincinnati and Design Lab. Students experience hands-on project-based lessons that have students design and model projects using knowledge from English language arts, mathematics, science, social studies, and the visual arts. Kathy has also served on the Design Lab Advisory Board for the past 4 years. These activities are in addition to the wonderful classroom environment Kathy has established for her art students. Kathy meets each student where they are artistically and then challenges them to grow throughout the year. Colerain Middle School is lucky to have Kathy Grimm. So to support Kathy's work, we have for her a $50 gift card, as well as a certificate of recognition. And Kevin said that he didn't want to speak tonight, but then he just changed his mind a minute ago. So he is going to add a few remarks about Kathy.
You know I can't get away without saying something. But we've worked together for all 22 years that I've been there. And as a guidance counselor, I've scheduled a lot of students in Kathy's class. They love going to her art class. She does a lot of wonderful creative things that we can often see in the hallways on display. And we had been working very closely together on this veterans program. I think it's probably the best program in the school district when we do that. Her dad is here, who's a veteran, and Kathy's gone to Washington, D.C. with him on an honor flight, and her mom is here, and her husband, Chris, is here as well. So thank you for coming, and I just wanted to say it's been great working with you for 22 years.
I can have our drivers and their families out in the hall for a photo, and also Kathy and her family. Congratulations, Kathy. Okay, at this time, Michael, we're going to move into our legislative update.
Okay, thank you. The budget is still pending in the Senate. As we discussed at the last meeting, it calls for a very small decrease in state funding for Northwest Local, according to the current formula. It's small enough that, the slightest change in enrollment adjustment could change that outcome. Other bills are starting to be taken up in the House now. One will address school safety and technology, and the House Education Committee is also addressing a proposed bill that would add computer science to the high school curriculum and add some computer science modules to the lower grades.
Just real quick regarding the budget.
I just misspoke. If the House the Senate hasn't released anything. They haven't released any simulations that I'm aware of. Yeah, so there's still the House figures that we're messing with. That was discussed last week. So the Senate has not released the budget with figures for school districts yet.
I know we just had a finance committee meeting. There were something, I thought we were losing about $1.5 million, aren't we, Amy?
For transportation reimbursement. And then the other was the reimbursement for per pupil.
Okay. Maybe they'll have a change of heart before they vote.
It's going to be a challenge because after the governor released his budget, he came back out and said, now you have to cut $800 million. Across the board, for everything, not just for schools.
The whole state budget.
Yeah,
Right.
in 2 years, yeah.
Okay, we'll move into Student Achievement Liaison Report. Weigel Elementary, their step store.
Good evening. We're very excited to be here.
For the last 5 or 6 years, Weigel Elementary and Pleasant Run Elementary have had a partnership with Cincinnati, the University of Cincinnati Economics Department, where they come in and support our students through an incentive program and teaching them economics at the same time. I brought 2 students here that are very thrilled to present to you today. And I have to tell you that these 2 young ladies are not randomly chosen. They were 2 of our highest PTA fundraisers for our walkathon, and with that privilege came the honor of principal for the day. So Ashley was the principal last Thursday, and Karuna was last Friday, and I said, your job will not be complete until you report to the board. So they have worked on this presentation, and so this is going to fulfill their, and complete their duties as principal.
In Step Store program, we get $15 a day in step bucks. If we make good choices and work hard, we get to keep all $15. If we made bad choices, then we get fined and lose $3 at a time. We keep track of our money each day on our bank cards. We can earn extra money by completing the activities in the booklet, helping the volunteers do the math and asking them the questions at the bottom of the pages in the Step Store booklet. When it is time to shop, we use our Step Store book to write a check for the amount we wish to purchase. Once a quarter, the Step Store comes to Weigel and we get a chance to spend our money. They have all kind of prizes like notebooks, sunglasses, headphones, and gift cards. When we go there, we do not have to spend all of our money. We can save it for a larger purchase or we can donate it. Our school donates our money to pediatric cancer research. For every 3 Step Store dollars, it turns into a real dollar. Last year, we donated over 1,000 real dollars. I like the Step Store because we get to buy school supplies and toys. I like the Step Store because I can buy things that I normally have to go to the store and buy, but it does not cost me real money. The Step Store is preparing us for the future and how to spend and save our money, as well as the importance of donating our money to good causes.
Can I ask both of you, what was your favorite thing about being principal for the day? Everything?
Saying everything.
Stephanie, keep their names.
It was a fantastic job.
Nice job, thank you.
Do you have any questions for us? The girls wanted you to see the booklets that they use to keep track of their money and write their checks.
This is very nice, and then also helping out the pediatrics that is amazing. You helped a lot of people.
Mrs. Braley, can I ask the girls a question?
Absolutely.
Who pays for all those prizes? Where do they come from? Do you know?
Usually each school has their own community sponsor. I do not know who Pleasant Run Elementary sponsor is. Unfortunately, we did not have a sponsor. They fell through at the last minute, so the actual UC Economics Department sponsored us this year. So that came out of their budget.
Wow.
It's all part of a grant that they have to run the Step Store programs.
And what grade are each of you in? Fourth grade. Wow.
Apparently they want to be the top fundraisers next year as well.
There you go. All right.
I called it 2 vacation days.
Well, thank you, and good luck to you next year, too.
Thank you.
Thanks, girls.
Mrs. Braley and her students and their family out in the hall for a photo.
Does she want the books back?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Good thing we do a budget and use that one.
Say no thanks.
Trust me, it would be the other way around. Okay, at this time, we're going to move into Butler Tech update, and I believe we have Mr. John Graft here, Superintendent of Butler Tech.
Just direct, yeah, just make sure that's on. Okay, good evening. My name is John Graft. I'm the Superintendent CEO of Butler Tech. It's my pleasure to be here this evening and give a brief update about some of the things that are happening at Butler Tech and the partnership that we have with Northwest Local Schools. We're very excited to be in this partnership, and I think of all of the districts that we have 10 districts in our CTE, our Career Technical Education Center. Coleraine and Northwest have embraced the fact that we are not your father's Oldsmobile when it comes to talking about career technical education. So I will be brief in my presentation, 5 to 10 minutes, and then if they want to entertain any questions, we can you could ask any questions. So career-focused education and its role in building tomorrow's workforce and leaders. Why we do it. The basics of why we do it is that we're really trying to have students find their passion and purpose for what is it that they want to explore. We know that students are better prepared for college. We know that they're better prepared for the workforce, and we also know that they are engaging in those soft skills and learning those soft skills when they're entering our career technical education programs. There's a couple clicks on that one. We're not a one-size-fits-all. You can keep going. We're not a one-size-fits-all, and it is about transforming lives. We've seen students that enter our programs either credit deficient or struggling to try to find what it is that they are passionate about. And really, for our sake, what we're trying to do is tap into what it is that drives and motivates them to be successful. Our locations are various. We have campuses at Northwest and at Coleraine. We have also what are called satellite programs, which we start programs as early as 7th grade and having students beginning to have an understanding of what type of career that they want to explore. This notion that you have to go to college in order to be successful is one of the biggest misperceptions that we're facing, and I think not just in career technical education, but in education in general. More than 40% of the students who start a 4-year college leave without a credential. Those times in which you went to college to find and figure out what it is that you wanted to do is an expensive proposition, between $20,000 and $25,000 a year. And if you make it to your sophomore year and then decide that that's not the path for you, you've inherited about $50,000 worth of debt. I know that I have 5 children, and one thing that I have harped on them is that when they go to college, they're clearly going to have a pathway if they choose college. Again, when you talk about the 2-year institutions, they have a 38% graduation rate as well, which again, here we're talking about then 60 to 62% of the population that enters college thinking that they're going to get a 2-year or a credential or a 4-year degree, leave with $50,000 worth of debt and no tangible skills connected to the workforce. That's why you see the last bullet, $1.3 trillion in student loan debt. So what we want to have them is, what we want to have them be able to accomplish is that finding and identifying the jobs and where they are in the market today. So for every 1 job that requires a master's degree, there are 2 that require a university degree. There are 7 that require a highly skilled technical expertise and an in-demand job with a 1 or 2-year certification. The job market and the job demands for high-paying jobs doesn't necessarily mean a 4-year degree. What we say at Butler Tech, it is college and career readiness. It is not college or career readiness. It's college and career readiness. So what we try to have them do is pick a concentration. Think of a major. What it is that you want to explore for the next 2 years if you're entering into your junior year and you've decided to attend Butler Tech or one of our programs. Decide what it is that you want to explore. Focus on that career, education, and academics. You also, at the same time, earn college credit free, as well as you have the opportunity for AP classes. All of our students who earn College Credit Plus through the state program earn it at the expense of Butler Tech. So these students are obtaining college credit, they're earning college credit, and it's not going against their debt. It's on the bill of Butler Tech. And this is a real tangible way of getting those percentages to increase for those students who do decide that they want to go on to a 2-year or a 4-year university. They also graduate with a better sense of their career path. They know what it is they like, and then they know what it is that they don't like. There would be nothing worse than going to a 2 or 4-year university and decide that I don't want to be a nurse, and I don't like blood, and that's not something that I want to have any experiences with if I went to the pathway of becoming an RN or an LPN. We have our students at the bioscience campus. For one example, we have 19 college courses offered on campus. 19 college courses, 45 college credit hours that they can earn at no expense to the student. Many of our students obtain a phlebotomy certificate, which means that they can go immediately into the workforce or earn an STNA or a variety of other certifications. So these are our high school programs that we offer. Again, there are a variety at our campuses that we have. We have a School of the Arts, we have a Natural Science Center, a Bioscience Center, also our D. Russell Lee campus, and then including our partnership with Northwest Local Schools, where many of our Colerain and Northwest students attend programs here on your campuses, and we have our career technical education programs, and then they obtain their traditional academics through their prospective high schools. But you can see that a lot of these programs that we offer are growing programs. They are also programs that have a high demand for the workforce. Skilled manufacturing, medical, I would tell you, the day you graduate from Northwest schools and you've gone through a Butler Tech program, you have a job, you probably have multiple offers, and you probably have on top of that a signing bonus that many of our skilled manufacturing companies are offering, in addition to their encouraging those students to go back and get their education at the expense of the company. So it's really a win-win for the students and for the parents. So if we don't reach them at their high school years or beginning in 7th grade all the way through, we don't reach them, and there's really a gap there where we see the 18 to 24-year-olds that are struggling. We try to capture them back in our adult education programs, whether that's going back and getting their GED, or whether that's going into healthcare or industrial or public safety, as well as our CDL training. And for our CDL training specifically, that's life-changing for many of those students that go through that program. For 5 weeks of intensive programming, they can obtain their Class A or B license, be on the street working, having a livable wage, and many for the first time who have said this to us, that they are the first family member to have a livable wage and to not be on public assistance. Generational change that we're seeing in many of our programs. So the realities of career technical education, as I said at the beginning, we're not your father's Oldsmobile, we're not your typical career tech education as we knew it when we were younger. But our CTE students are more likely to graduate high school, they're more likely to enroll in a 2-year college, they're more likely to be employed, and they're more likely to earn higher wages. Just as likely to enroll in a 4-year college. This thought that you didn't make it at your local high school, so therefore you go to a career technical center, it's just not the case anymore. And we see a remarkable number of students that are doing tremendous things and being very successful both in their high school careers and outside of their high school careers. It is all about workforce and obtaining jobs. We want them to be taxpayers. I know that all of you would like them to see return to Northwest Local School District and be taxpayers in our community. We instituted a Workforce Services Department, which is specifically geared towards helping students obtain internships, having practical experiences in the workplace, and letting them see firsthand what those career opportunities are about. Laura Sage is our director for that. Next slide, please. We're also investing in our future. We've seen a tremendous growth at Butler Tech. We had 1,660 applications this year for 1,025 spots. Yes, so we see the demand for programming. We also hear it from the business community saying we need more employees.
We're working on capacity issues right now, and I don't want to get into school funding and the reasons why we're unable to expand, but we continue to expand each and every year. We've purchased the Americana Swordsville Lake property, which is in Butler County. We're looking at expanding our bioscience center. We started in 2015 at our bioscience campus with 215 students. Next year we'll have 320 students, and we will be absolutely at capacity. We're actually doing some interior renovations to add a couple of classrooms, and we're actually looking to partner with a business on the remaining 7 acres that we have. One of our largest growth areas that we're going to see in a variety of different programs is in drone technology. This example, most people when I say drone technology, they think, well, you go to Target and you buy a $59 drone and then you take your student or yourself out to fly it. I had a bad experience flying my own drone. My son didn't get any flight time with it because it disappeared on me in 5 or 10 seconds. But anyway, this is not that type of drone programming. This goes across a lot of different workforce fields, whether it's survey work, real estate, insurance adjustments, whether it's in the energy industry and they're looking at lines, whether it's wireless technology, whether it's emergency services. All of these workforce demands that we're going to see in the future, and the investments that many big Fortune 100 companies are making in drone technology, we know that this is an emerging workforce, and we want to be able to meet that demand. Not going to show this because I'm at 7 minutes already, but if you get a chance, Matt King is our newest employee who will be running Drone Camp, and if anybody's interested in attending Drone Camp and you're between the ages of 7 and 15, you can go to dronecamp.org and sign up. You'll have an experience within 30 minutes. You'll be flying a drone, and you will have some real practical experiences to see if that's an industry that you might look forward to in your future. Again, the next several slides for me is to share with you that our students are doing high-end, high-skill work. These students were doing research to cure HIV at the University of Cincinnati research team. They actually gave a presentation to the head of infectious diseases at the University of Cincinnati. One of the students ended up having a full ride, I believe, to the University of Cincinnati. The other student has an internship with the head of infectious diseases this summer. So these students, and for me to try to explain what it is that they did, I couldn't do it. They're really doing some high-end work. These are our manufacturing apprentices and co-ops, and you may see some familiar faces with some of the Northwest Coleraine students. Many of these students are working at the beginning of their senior year. They're making $18 to $22 an hour. At the end of their high school career, they're negotiating signing bonuses as well as asking the job market or the employers to pay for their college. Here we have a group from Ross that is developing and in the development of a school safety app that will actually pick up the decibels of a gunshot, a machine gun, or a handgun. It can actually distinguish between the three. They're working on marketing this and fine-tuning the technology portion of it. They will probably have to end up forming their own LLC in order to sell the product beyond just their local school district. Again, those are just a handful of examples of what students are accomplishing at Butler Tech. And in partnership, and I have to say kudos to Northwest Schools, you do a fantastic job of sharing the message and the collaboration that we have here with Butler Tech. It's something that this misperception that if a parent says, well, my child is intending to go to college, and we say, congratulations, we have a pathway for you with Butler Tech being a part of it. And if they decide that, that they don't want to go to our Career Tech Center, or they don't want to go to our campuses, I think we have a great relationship with your school district in really identifying for the student what is the right pathway for them, because students are much more savvy. The traditional methodology that after a year's time you go on to the next grade, and that you continue to grow. Our students want a variety of different options and experiences, and that's what we're trying to provide at Butler Tech in partnership with your local school district. I know that was about 45 minutes of information packed into 7.5 minutes, so I did my best, but would be happy to answer any questions that board members or district representatives would have.
John, I know at the graduation on Saturday, I was amazed at how many of the kids stood up when they asked who was involved with Butler Tech. How many total kids from the Northwest School District are involved in either one of our sites or
I want to say our incoming juniors for next year, when I went to the acceptance ceremony, we were in the over 200 students at each of the campuses. So over 200 incoming juniors were coming into the program. And again, I think that's a testament to the administration, the counselors that you have, sharing with them the pathways that we offer.
Good.
I just kind of want to share, I was going to bring it up at the end of the meeting during my comments, but it kind of fits in here. For those of you that weren't at Northwest graduation on Saturday, one of our students, Butler Tech student, Financial Services, Carlos Boyd, couple things. One, he had just been elected to the national treasurer of the BPA, which is a huge, huge deal. And not only that, he's been awarded over $1.2 million in scholarship money. That one student. He is a Butler Tech student. He attends at our campus, Peter Clark, and it's just, he's going to Washington University, and sky's the limit. So there's just so many opportunities. Then another thing I thought of as you were talking about when kids go to college and you know, you're 2 years in, then all of a sudden you change your mind and you're in debt so much. I had the opportunity several years ago to visit at the Science Center, and we're talking to the kids, and one student in particular was in the Vet Tech program, and he was telling me that he really liked it, but he realized after working with the animals that really wasn't what he wanted to do. He wanted to work with people. So, and I looked at him and I said, well, how cool is that? Now you know that next year when you go off to college, you're going to go into nursing. You just saved that year or 2 years of tuition to not figure that out till you got into college. So he had the background. What he learned from attending helped him really determine for sure which way he wanted to go. So I think it was a win-win for him as well. So pretty neat opportunities for our students.
Absolutely.
Anybody else?
One of the things we talked about early with the, you know, for every 10 jobs, there's one with an advanced degree, and there's 2 with a university degree, and 7 with a credential. Career pathways, a lot of industries are really trying to streamline it so that, you know, a lot of industries would only hire people with college degrees, let's say. And now they'll hire people with certificates. They're actually creating certificates at the state level so that you can stair step your way into that career and you know, work on your next credential while being employed in that field. It'd be nice if we could develop something like that for the education profession, but that's probably one of the hardest ones to crack. But it would be you really start to see it in a lot of even in medical fields especially.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with you that the workforce and the employers are saying that. And I would say that with Northwest and Butler Tech, that we're in agreement with the workforce and the employer's philosophy about that, and getting that change made at the state and national level. It is a work in progress. I would say that Senator Portman is very much a supporter of career technical education. He's done a remarkable job at lowering the number of hours in order to obtain Pell Grant funding, which I think enables us to allow different offerings to get students and our adult workforce out into the workforce quicker than some of the higher 600-hour programs that we have in our adult education.
And John, I'd just like to thank, you know, Butler Tech for everything they do for our students. The more exposure we get to the Butler Tech, the more impressed we are all the time with the things that you're doing and what the students are achieving up there. So I think it's a really awesome program, and the more the parents find out about it, I think in the future years that the expansion program is going to be well worth it, because there's definitely a need out there for the students.
Thank you. I can say, this is my first year being the superintendent of Butler Tech, and I've always had 3 rules anytime that I've obtained any position or even in my previous work is one, that we want to have fun and enjoy what we're doing. And if you've interacted with any of our teachers and you see what our students are doing, they are absolutely learning a ton, but they are having a great time doing it, and that's really inspiring them to find their passion. The other one is we work very, very hard. We work very, very hard in working together. We expect a lot out of our students and teachers, and we get a lot out of our students and teachers. And the last one is that they need to make friends. Having friendships and having connections with one another and the collaborations that they need to have with one another is vital for continued employment. We've seen many occasions where people have great technical skills, they have great knowledge and understanding, but they can't get along with others. And those 3 things, having fun, working hard, and making friends, I think it is throughout a lot of our programs that we have.
I have some exposure to that too. Before Terry ran the buses, I ran them. Friday afternoons, can a bus rider from Lakota come home to Northwest on your school buses? No.
Well, thank you, and I'm looking forward to see how the drone camps go. So anyone interested, and you have kids, grandkids, make sure you go on the website. I believe it's on our website as well, a link for the drone camp.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Okay, we're going to move into the principal report. Laurie from Weigel Elementary.
Hello again. Fantastic. So I don't know if you've heard or not, but education is a-changing. And school is not what it used to be. Math is not what it used to be. Students are not what they used to be. And kind of at Weigel, we just decided we're tired of talking about it, and it's time to do something about it. So my brief presentation today simply is changing the way we do business, because that really was our goal this year. The first thing we did this year is we wanted to make sure that we were looking at data differently. We are quite a few years into our MAP reports, and we understand those reports, we understand the written numbers and what they mean, but we just can't look at written numbers. We just can't look and be happy if a student went up a certain number of points, because we have to put that in context. So what we did different this year is we wanted to look at each and every student and not be satisfied with their projected RIT, because that just means they made the growth they were going to, or they were supposed to make. If that's all we did, we would never close this gap that we have. We have to continue to push forward. So one of the things that we did was we identified students, and we looked at their projected RIT and kind of where that put them and what quintile that put them, whether it was the low, low average, average, high average, or high. And our goal for each student by the end of the year was to move up a quintile. So if you were in the low, our goal for you was not necessarily to be advanced on the OCBA assessments. Our goal for you was to move up to the low average quintile, because you were not just making a 1 year's growth, but you were pushing forward. And so our teachers did a lot of work on identifying students, identifying what their projected RIT is, and then pushing them past that in order to have them move to a different quintile. So it doesn't end, though, once you have this work done. This was the beginning, the first step. But now really what I want to talk about is what do we do from here? So now we know where the students need to go. We know how far we have to push them to move to the next quintile. How in the world do we do it? So our next steps, we knew that at Weigel Elementary, we really needed to work on student engagement. We had to make learning fun. We had to make it more interactive. And we needed to have those kids taking more ownership of their learning. And the work that we presented needed to be very specific to their needs. If we continue to teach to the middle, we're never going to get those kids to move up those quintiles. So we kind of focused in 3 different areas of changes this year. Change in our overall instructions and the strategies that we used. We increased the use of differentiation and increased the use of technology, and I want to talk briefly about each of those. Instruction. I want to kind of talk about what it used to look like and where we're headed right now. So it used to be students were all receiving the same group instruction and same activities to complete independently. So we had the reading stations, the teacher would go along. When you came back, you were in a small group, but every group did the exact same activity. Every group read the same story, answered the same questions. It was just in a smaller setting. Where now, it's not that way at all. As a matter of fact, when you rotate, you may not do one single thing that your friend next to you does, because we are using different text with students depending on their reading level. And they are completing activities that reflect their needs, not the needs to the middle, but are very specific to them. So if it's not something they need to practice, they're not doing it. Everyone receives the same homework. Long gone are those days. We have differentiated homework. So again, you are practicing at your level. One thing we find is that when we give students work at their level, students complete homework because they can do it at their level independently without a lot of help from home. It's when we're giving everyone the same homework that we're getting back, I didn't do it, I didn't know how to do it, I didn't have a parent at home to help me. So differentiating their homework has helped us. Teachers teaching and students listening. I say to my teachers when I walk in, I don't want you standing up there for more than 10 or 15 minutes talking. You need to stop talking and they need to do more of it. So now what we have are teachers facilitating as students do more of the work with partners or in projects. So it's getting those kids involved, not just sitting there taking it in, but actually doing and presenting themselves. One-step assignments with black and white answers. You know, our students are still so used to us asking a question and them expecting there to be one specific answer. We're trying to push them to think creatively and outside the box. So we're giving them multi-step problems that require analysis. We're asking their opinions on things, which students are typically not comfortable giving or not used to being asked to give their opinion. But also we're asking them for proof and support of those thoughts and opinions. So we always say there's not a wrong answer unless you really can't support it. So it's getting the students to kind of think outside of the box. Differentiation is not a new word. It's a word that's been around for a while. But it's kind of taken on a new image, I think, at Weigel. We used to think differentiation was just, I have different worksheets, I'm going to pass that out, you're going to play a different game, you only have to do 5 problems, you're going to do 10 problems. But it's not just that. It's differentiating the instruction. Because again, if we're going back to setting up things, activities that are right at a student's need, the instruction has to be differentiated. So we're doing more small group instruction based upon the needs of those students. And we're getting that information from our TBT data, quick checks, summative assessments, or exit tickets. The increased analysis of the data to determine the root cause. So it's not just these 5 students scored the lowest on the assessment, I'm going to pull them back. It's not about the scores, honestly, at all. It's about looking at those questions and doing that item analysis and finding out how many people missed question 5 and why do we think they missed it? What was that common mistake that they made? And I'm going to pull those students all back who missed question 5, whether you got a B+ on the assignment or you got an F. You still missed question 5, and we need to go back over that. Increased use of rotations to provide different opportunities to practice skills at different levels with small group teacher rotation with differentiated instruction. I kind of mentioned that in the beginning. And then more student-led learning and less teacher-led instruction. This has led to a great increase in student engagement and ownership of the learning. So I've kind of said to the teachers, take a step back. You should not be so exhausted when you leave the building. You should be able to walk out with a few peps left in your step because the kids have done the work. So give them some engaging work, give them time, give them support, and then let them figure it out. And sometimes that's difficult for us to kind of step back and watch a student struggle, but that's honestly how they're learning best. Increased use of technology. This has been an exciting thing at Weigel. With all of the additional Chromebooks that we've received, we've kind of taken off with our use of technology. Early on, we recognized that students need to be comfortable completing the work on the computer. Students know computers. I mean, really, they're my tech liaisons. They fix all my problems when I have them. But we've taught them for so many years how to take a paper pencil test, how to highlight words, how to circle, how to number paragraphs, and that all changes when you take an assessment on a computer. So the technology piece became important because we needed to make sure they were ready to be assessed on a computer. We had to give them a fair shot and reteach them some different strategies. The Chromebook carts have been awesome. They've allowed for greater access. We're very fortunate. We have one cart for every 2 classrooms, so each team of teachers coordinates it and works it out so that they're pretty much used all day long. Google Classroom has become quite the catch in the building, and the kids absolutely love it. It's a great way for teachers to get the kids started without saying a word. The kids know the routines, they log on, they do an activity that's been assigned to them. Again, it allows you to differentiate. The kids don't know if their activity is different than others. They don't know if the assignment that's been given to them is exactly like the one that their friend has. One thing that I love to see is it also allows for daily practice with written responses, which we know we have to work on. But it allows the students to respond to others' work. And that's not something, again, that they've ever really been able to do. So now when we are using the Google Classroom and a student is responding to a writing prompt, they see everyone's work, and then they're encouraged to respond, both on the content of it, but also on the grammar, spelling, punctuation. We have them being the teacher. We have them saying, this would have been so much better if you would have added this detail to it, or one question that I have that wasn't answered in the paragraph was this. That's a powerful thing when you see a student essentially grading someone else's work, following the rubric and kind of pointing out how they can make improvements to writing. Also, student presentations. Our 5th graders have done a lot of this, and several of our AO members were invited over to listen to some of their presentations. It was a simple activity where the teacher said, you create a presentation on this topic. And they're creating PowerPoints, they're teaching each other about different types of imagery, and it was fantastic. They're adding clip art, and they were so excited. I had to sit through about 50 of them, all teaching me the exact same thing. But what a powerful thing. Not only did they create it, but then they got to teach it to someone and present it to someone. So that's been very exciting. The kids really enjoy that. Our teachers have done a great job of identifying using different websites that provide opportunities for differentiation, specifically with reading levels. There are sites where you can choose a topic, whether it's a science or a social studies topic, and you can go on and they will give you various text levels, all related to that topic. So if we are studying force and motion, our 5th grade science teacher will type that in, and she will get 3 articles that the students can read on that, all at different lexile, so she's able to assign them work, again, at their level, instead of having them just read at a level that's above their heads and they're not going to understand. The use of websites have also allowed us to practice at specific levels and give us specific assignments out to students, again, based on their needs. Rotations, this is a very popular thing that we do. If there's students that still need to work on a certain skill, they are assigned that on a certain website, and they will go in and complete that practice while other students are moving on to possibly another skill. And our teachers are also using technology to teach study skills. That's one thing that I think we hear loud and clear from the middle school, is that our students are not always prepared in terms of their study skills. They don't know how to study. We don't teach them how to study. No one at home teaches them how to study. We're just assuming they know how to do that. So there's some great technology out there to also help them with that. Next steps for Weigel to continue. We got the ball rolling, but of course we have a lot more that we need to do. We are working on some summer PD sessions on specific topics that we talked about here, technology, differentiation, different types of teaching strategies. that our specialists, our reading and math specialists, will lead over the summer. Kind of a volunteer thing, but if you want to kind of get a heads up, or you saw one of your peers using a certain program or using the Google Classroom and you were too afraid or too overwhelmed at the moment to try to take that on, this is your opportunity before the school year starts to kind of get some ideas. We are looking into doing a book study on differentiation as a staff to get some more ideas. The implementation of project-based learning will occur this year. Our goal at Weigel is to do peer observations once a quarter so that teachers can see other teachers in action. Again, a very powerful thing. And we made sure that when budgeting for next year, our budget reflected the need for purchasing some technology license. So now that we have the technology, we want to use it effectively, we want to purchase license for programs that are going to support our students, so that was reflected in our budget. So I talked super fast, I realize that, sorry. But that's kind of how we're changing the way we do business at Weigel. Do you have any questions?
Well, I think that you're teaching the kids how to interact with one another and then make presentations. I know even at my age, I interact with so many people, like, I can't talk to all those people, you know, and you're teaching them now at a young age, this is what, you know, giving them presentations, not that big of a deal.
Ashley and Karuna were not worried. They were not nervous. They were like, it's fine. Okay.
Yeah. That's great.
So, thank you.
I think the peer observation is key too. It's just like that's how we want our kids to do. That's good for teachers to get to see.
It's a very non-threatening way to get some new ideas.
Absolutely.
You find some people that, you know, I can slide in and ask them some questions and they can help me. And it also allows us to highlight some of the strengths of our teachers. So.
I really commend you and the school and the district for embracing change. I mean, 4 or 5 years ago, most of that stuff up there would have, seemed like a foreign concept to a lot of people. It's just refreshing to see how it's been embraced here.
Well, it's not easy. It never is for anyone, but we're headed in that direction. And I think we really see the difference that it's making with the students. The engagement is much higher. Our students seem to really enjoy coming to class. And first question, do we have the computers or does the other class? So, yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, at this time we'll move into reports from employee organizations. Do we have any reports from certificated and licensed? Classified employees? School-related organizations? I do have one request for community comments. Christopher Miller, if you'd like to come up to the podium, would like to talk about lack of diversity in faculty and staff.
Good evening. I've been a resident in this school district for 15 years. I've supported every levy to improve the school district. In a school district that is nearly 30% African American, I'm more than concerned about the district's implicit and explicit disregard for the diversity and inclusion among its educators and faculty. My daughter, who is a rising junior at Co-Ray, has never had an African American educator. My daughter had a well-qualified African American principal who was forced from the school after only 2 years in that position. My daughter had a well-qualified African American athletic director before he was forced from the school in less than 2 years in that position. And now another African American faculty member, intervention specialist, and basketball coach has been let go after only 1 year. The current principal of Colerain has expressed that attracting African American educators is a concern, and yet we've had 3 African American administrators forced out of the school at Colerain High School within the past year. That is unacceptable. It creates a convincing impression that the district is willing to hire African American candidates with no intention of keeping them or growing their skills for success. It's important to have educators and faculty just as diverse as its student body. Therefore, I'm here to address the board of this matter as an African American taxpayer, resident of this school district for 15 years. I'm not pleased at all with the letting go of these individuals. The student, as I said, the student body deserves to have representation reflected in its faculty and its educators. And I have not seen that in the past 15 years as being a taxpayer in this district.
Mr. Miller, I'd like to address that as being a 20-year board member.
Yes, ma'am.
I agree with you. That has been a challenge for all the years that I've been on the board, and I can say this administration has actively tried to recruit African American minority teachers. The sad thing is our pay scale up to this point is pretty much the bottom of all of Hamilton County, and pretty close with Butler County as well. And if you're a teacher or a student coming out of college, and you can go and make $10,000 more starting out, not only do I not blame them for going to another district. We have had African Americans, I can personally tell you, of administrators over the last 20 years that we have groomed, only to lose them to neighboring districts because of more opportunity and more money. I personally can't comment on the three you're talking about. Two of them, you're right, are administrators. One is an aide.
Well, it's my understanding they had no desire to leave the school, and it was less than 2 years, respectively. And so I understand there's a struggle as far as to get qualified African Americans in the building. But at the same time, when they were there, it was not their desire to leave the school, but yet they were forced to. And so that's my concern. It's twofold.
And I understand what you're saying. I personally can't comment on those individuals because if there are individual circumstances that we can't sit here and talk about personnel matters. But I can tell you, even tonight in another district, there is someone that is about ready to be named a superintendent of a neighboring school district that not only was a student and product of this district, but became a teacher in this district, was an administrator in this district, and then we lost him to another district for all his talent, and now after a board vote, he's going to be a superintendent. I wish he was still here. We couldn't compete, and nor do I blame him. It's frustrating.
So where do I go to get the answers to the question as far as the ones, if the school board isn't the one to provide, as a concerned parent, the answers of why a principal was let go in less than 2 years and an athletic director was let go in less than 2 years?
I mean,
I'm the one you go to.
Okay.
I can't tell you the truth. They can.
Who can?
The three people you're referring to. You need to talk to them about why they're not there.
Well,
we have high expectations for all of our staff.
Yes.
They have to be certified. If they can't meet state certification for the job they do, then they can't work in our district. We have policies and guidelines and rules they have to follow. If they can't follow policy, guidelines, and rules, they can't work for our district. That's any staff, white, African American, any denomination. It's just
So
the
are
way it
you
is.
saying they were let go?
I
because of
can't
those
say
reasons?
anything about it. I'm not allowed to speak about it publicly.
Okay.
I can tell you that if there were issues, I don't think we'd have resignations, and I don't think we would have people not in positions at all our teaching staff and administrative staff. We have them on a daily basis. But unless you know all the facts, which I by law cannot tell you, there's no truth to that.
There's no truth to what?
Us pushing African Americans out of our district.
So, okay. So Dr. Turney, she left on, she
Can't
was not.
speak about individuals.
Oh, you can't speak about individuals. Okay.
Any more than we could with a student. If you came here and wanted to know why Johnny was suspended, we can't tell you why Johnny, you can go to Johnny and ask.
What?
But so if there are issues with individual staff members, you can talk to them individually.
Okay.
The individual you mentioned is the person you need to go talk to. They're the only one who can share their own information. And if they've shared something with you, you can speak to it right now. We don't have anything we want to share about any of the 3 individuals you're regarding about. We're not allowed to.
Okay. As I stated in my statement, I know those individuals did not want to leave the school, and it's my understanding I'm seeking to find answers of why they were let go. As I said, because there is such a challenge, as you said, with getting African Americans in the school district. With that being said, it appears to me as a parent, as a taxpayer, that they were let go prematurely, not giving whatever the latitude to succeed, to be successful. 2 years is unacceptable. I would think as everyone as educator wanting to have the best school district as possible, that they will be giving a certain amount of direction and guidance to be successful. Less than 2 years with respective situations, it just doesn't sit well with me at all. And so that's why I'm here, just to seek answers. I understand if you can't divulge, I guess, that question, but I'm here to say I am very concerned, and I don't stand alone in being concerned about that.
It is our concern also. This is our HR director. She has been told that we will do everything we can above and beyond to try to recruit African American teachers. English as a second language is starting to come in. We want the best teachers. We don't look for white and African American when we recruit. What's best for our kids? What's going to do what Laurie was just talking about? What's going to promote and stimulate and motivate these kids to get an education and to move on? We go to job fairs. We go to colleges that are local, Xavier, UC, and others. But sometimes you don't get the full mix there. We're also going to colleges where it's 90% and above African American population and enrollment. But when it comes to a salary and I'm offering $36,000 a year to start and somebody else is offering $43,000, I don't have a chance. We will continue to try though, and we will do our best. It is a concern. We would like to be fully represented, that every 3 out of 10 staff members match the makeup or the culture of our population. But the only way you know information about those 3 is those 3 have said something to you. We can't speak to them, and I can tell you, you don't have the whole picture.
Okay. So you saying that whatever they say would be factual?
I can't talk about any of that.
Okay. All right.
It would be the same if I went to your job tomorrow and wanted your boss to tell me.
And I understand that,
I
but guess it's part of my job as a parent,
I
as
appreciate
a taxpayer,
that you're here.
as a taxpayer, that I should be afforded some answers in doing that, because at the end of the day, if this is a company, I am a shareholder in this district. So I deserve to have some answers into who is educating my children and why people are letting go. It hasn't is so if I'm a board member of this company, I should be afforded that luxury to have that information, because I am providing for the district itself in that fashion.
I can tell you as a member of this board that we want what you want, and we have and will continue to do everything we can to not only hire but to retain. There are some cases that sometimes, because of issues that we cannot talk about, it doesn't end up working. But I understand what perception can be. I just want you to understand, me personally, I want what you want. But I can't sit here and discuss individually a personnel matter. And the 3 you mentioned are individual personnel matters. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, we will move into superintendent.
Yes, let me get this logged back on. All right, the first item is a fiscal item. It is financial reports of the treasurer, April 2017, in accordance with Section 3313.29 of the revised code of the state of Ohio. Record needs to be made that the treasurer submitted a financial statement of receipts, expenditures, balances, and investments in the regular funds of the Board of Education for the period of the fiscal year 2017. Treasurer and superintendent recommend the Board of Education approve the financial reports as listed.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions? Okay, Chris? Motion passes 5-0.
Next item is the certificated license personnel retirements and resignations. The superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the certificated license personnel retirements and resignations as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded on certificate of licensed personnel retirement resignations. Any questions or comments? Okay, Chris? Motion passes 5-0.
The next item is the classified retirements and resignations. Superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the classified retirements and resignations as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded on classified retirements and resignations. Questions? Chris? Motion passes 5-0.
Next item is a fiscal item, fund-to-fund transfers. Fund-to-fund transfers for fee waivers for each building. Treasurer and superintendent recommend the Board of Education approve the temporary appropriations resolution for fiscal year. Oh, let me skip up one. The treasurer and superintendent recommend the Board of Education approve the fund-to-fund transfer items as listed.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded on fund-to-fund transfers. Questions or comments? Okay, Chris? Motion passes 5-0.
Next item is temporary appropriation resolution for fiscal year 2018. The treasurer and superintendent recommend the Board of Education approve the temporary appropriations resolution for fiscal year 2018 as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions? Okay, Chris? Motion passes 5-0.
Next is the five-year forecast and related assumptions, and Amy will take over from here.
I seem to be, always get the presentation that's not fun. So May is the update of our October five-year forecast. And our revenues consistently trend fairly the same. So we're about 55% on taxes, and this is local property taxes plus the tax credits paid for by the state. In the state of Ohio, the foundation payments and restricted grants are about 35%, and we have 9 to 10% of the rest is interest, tuition, charges to other places for services and things like that, so other revenue. And our expenditures are the same way. We trend fairly consistently. 75% is our personnel. We are a service industry. 20% is purchased services, mainly utilities, special needs, tuition and services. 3% for supplies. Other expenditures are mainly like your auditor and treasurer fees, audits, things like that. And then capital outlay, 1% for the current year. Normally that's even less than 1, sometimes 0, because we have the permanent improvement fund. So our revenues and our expenditures trend almost exactly the same each year as far as overall budget. I want to bring you back to last October. So our October forecast. In 2017, the reason revenues were a little less than expenditures was because we had the $10 million transfer. We were moving cash balance from general fund for our new master facility project. But we knew in 2018 revenues were going to dip lower than expenditures because expenditures with inflation and raises and things continue to increase, but our revenue is flat. Remember, revenue comes in, as we said, 55% on taxes. Those tax rates are set when the levy is passed. So it's like getting a paycheck in 76, 96, 2012, 2017, and the amount staying the same going forward, where expenditures do increase. The orange is the emergency levy renewal. We knew in October it was very important to pass our emergency levy renewal to continue with current services. It was current money that we were operating on, 7.3 million, and we needed to continue to sustain it. However, we did know in 2018 we would have around $1 million that we were still in deficit spending, that we were going to have to look as an administration internally, look for efficiencies, some reductions to figure out how to get our budget back in line for that $1 million. This is what the May forecast looks like. The red is revenue. So as you can see, even in back to 12, going forward to 21, revenue is fairly consistent. It did pop up a little bit. We had the second emergency levy, which we did let go to be rolled into more of a bond for our master facility project. Expenditures dipped down. We do have substantial cuts, significant cuts during the recession area, but now that we're back and to compete with other districts, costs go up. You can see expenditures have a gradual incline to increase. The green line is our cash balance. In 12, it does pop up with the two emergency levies, which we just talked about, the one we converted over to a bond, and then renewing, thank goodness, our 7.3 emergency levy earlier this month. We do dip below our cash balance policy, which is our black line of 60 days, in 2020. But we start exceeding revenue in 2018, which is next fiscal year. As we just talked about, we knew that in October that we were going to be headed there. This shows us in 2018 where we start going there, and again, revenue is flat. Even though we renewed our emergency levy, we renewed it for the same amount as we had received since 2012. Reasons why our deficit spending are increased more than the $1 million we were projecting in October are more because of the proposed biennial budget from the state of Ohio. Normally the state increased foundation $100 per pupil. We're at 35%, we get $35. This year they increased it, or proposing to increase it $20. That's $8 more per pupil in the next 2 years. Expenses are increasing more than $72,000 annually. We also have students that are attending elsewhere. We send $6 million a year to other districts for charter schools, open enrollment, scholarships. The full $20 goes out when a student attends somewhere else. We receive $8. Our taxes are flat, but we have to pay the full $20. Another big hit that we're receiving is the transportation reimbursement. Instead of being reimbursed at 60%, they're reducing it down to 35% in fiscal 18 and 25% in fiscal 19. However, we are funded at 38%, so it will be flat in there, but we're still going to lose approximately $1 million more. So while we were looking at losing $1 million in October and trying to find a way to make up that difference, we're at $3 million going into next year, even though we just passed our emergency levy. So we will continue as administration, board, staff to look for efficiencies, look for reduction, and look for ways to get from a deficit operating spending to at least neutral. So with that, any questions?
So in reality, even though it sounds like, you know, oh, we're getting a little bit of money in the big scheme of things, I mean, $1.4 million in addition to the $1.2 million we were already going to be down, I mean, $3 million is a lot of money.
Right, start compounding very fast.
Amy, the cost per student or expenditure per student is what, about 11,000?
10.
10.
We're in the 10.
Just above 10 or?
Yeah.
Okay. What is the state average?
Around 10.
Okay.
So we're about the same.
Yeah, we're always pretty close to state averages.
Okay.
But remember, $6 million of that is just paying students to attend elsewhere. So
Okay.
that does bump up our expenditure per pupil. It encompasses everything, not just what we spend on our students either.
Okay. Another thing I observed there, it seemed like when I started on the board some years ago, our salaries and benefits was more like 84%, and it seemed like it's dropped down. Am I accurate in that?
Yeah. Salaries used to be historically between 80 and 85%. Then the recession hit, and now it's more around 75%. But services are increasing dramatically for schools, and what we're required now to provide when we used to not have to pay for have increased significantly.
And if we contract out with somebody like the ESC or to transport students, like we have done in the past, that counts as a purchase service, right, not a salary benefit, because we sign a contract with the vendor to provide the service.
Correct.
Amy, you mentioned open enrollment. Would that help our case if we would go to open enrollment? Because I know Winton Woods, Fairfield, Mount Healthy, I believe they're at open enrollment and they all touch our district. I mean, is that a possibility? Would that help? Would that not help?
Would help if we could get our kids back. If we can get our students to come back, then we're not sending that money out. As far as opening enrollment in, once you have that policy, you can't deny unless your class sizes are full. So you have to accept anybody's. It just depends on what we want to do as a district. But if we could get our own students to come back and be here, then the tax dollars that our community is paying for those students would stay here instead of being sent to all these other
And
districts.
how do we go about trying to get those students back?
The administration is looking into various ways to see if we can start our own school that would help offer different options, maybe options that they're looking for and why they've gone to other places, other charter schools or community schools.
Like an ECOT?
Mhm.
How many students do we lose each year to go to ECOT? Because obviously they've got a lot of problems where they got overfunded over $60 million. I read that in the paper last week.
Well, there's lots of problems with ECOT and charter schools.
Yeah.
It's the governor thinking you need school choice. Fine, give school choice. But
Protect
hold
the
them
school
to the
choice.
same accountability we do. Their scores are terrible, their attendance is terrible. So we're going to look at bringing back some type of online program where kids can attend school here also, like we already offer through some certain avenues, Northwest Passage and some others. But that is our goal this summer, to research how we can bring probably 200 in charters and 200 in online. Get 200 of those back. That takes care of a lot of that 1.2 and 1.4. Remember, we're also going to all-day kindergarten. One, it will help achievement tremendously by the time these kids become first graders, because instead of getting 20 minutes of reading and 20 minutes of math in a half-day program, they'll get 120 of each. So that should increase enrollment. And we know they're going somewhere because we have low numbers in kindergarten, but by the time we get to first grade, they're all back here in the district. So.
Gotcha.
So Amy, you said that the personnel cost was trending around 75. Is that for our district or for the state average?
Both.
Both.
Since the recession, that's about the norm for schools. Services have actually taken over the cost and increased.
As long as our state legislators keep giving us more unfunded mandates, it's a little hard to know what's ahead of us.
Yeah. When our state revenue doesn't even increase 1%.
I did want to take a minute to share, Amy heads up the finance committee that's made up of members in our community. We have a representative from the chamber, from Colerain Township, continually trying to educate all the stakeholders to understand this crazy state budget so that they understand what we're facing on a day-to-day basis. So hopefully things will start turning around here.
All right, the next item is then and now
Wait,
certificate.
we have to vote
go
on
ahead.
this.
This Treasurer and Superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the 5-year forecast related assumptions as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Moved in second. Any other questions on the 5-year forecast? Okay, Chris. Motion passes 5-0.
I didn't want to vote because it didn't have no speeding car sounds like we've had in the past. Then and now certificates over 3,000. Superintendent and Treasurer recommend the Board of Education authorize the payments over 3,000 requiring a then and now certificate as listed.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded on the then and now certificates. Are there any other questions? Please? Yes?
Yeah. Do we all have it?
thought I did.
Motion passes 5-0.
Are you caught up now?
Often, my friend.
Okay.
Go early enough.
Resolution for bus and van purchases through the Southwest Ohio Educational Purchasing Council. Before I read the recommendation, I'd like Chris and Terry to spend a few minutes. We are purchasing 2 more vans, you will see, and how that has affected us with UTS.
So now that Amy's brought you the bad news, $1.4 million is a lot of money to make up in 2 years. So that's what we're taking a look at some of the things that we can do in the department to see what we can do. However, one of the things that we have to do that I think the district had problems in the past with is sticking to that bus replacement schedule. Once you get away from that, it's really hard to get caught back up. So that's what we're going to be recommending this year is to purchase another 5 buses per our replacement schedule through the EPC program. But what we'd also wish to do is to purchase another 2 vans, and that is to offset some of the outsourced cost through such services as UTC and things like that. So I've asked Terry to come in and give you a brief narrative of what's happened in the past, starting with fiscal year 16. We purchased 2 vans then, and I'd like for him to describe what's happened there.
It's pretty much up here on the board, but we purchased in fiscal year 2 vans, and we've been utilizing them for various routes. We actually are going to both middle schools, both high schools, Northwest Passage and Montford Heights Elementary with those vans, and one even to Houston. So we're utilizing them diversely throughout the district. They're just running back and forth all day long with an average about 15 students. In the past, these students would have been transported via a contract to service universal transportation within our own district because they live all the way at the south end of the district or north end of the district and go to school here. They're in the Northwest High School District, but they are going to go to Coleraine because the services they need are at those particular schools. So we're transporting these students in vans made it much easier to do that.
And we outsource that to UTS.
If we didn't,
particular service.
if we didn't do it ourselves, and we had in the past, and Bob can attest to this. Matter of fact, when I first came to work for Bob, he said, "I think we need to get some vans," and so we were able to do that last year, and hopefully we're able to do that this year. The vans we're going to purchase this year are a little bit bigger. If you've seen the newer Ford vans, they're can transport. Right now, we can only transport 6 students in each van per ride. These will let us transport 9 students plus the driver, which is 10. So that'll help us in that way transport more students and maybe even take some out of the district. I've looked at our transporting in the summer, which we've always used UTS, and I approached the special needs department this year for the summer. There are 14 students that we've always transported continuing their school. They go to a school that goes year-round. They're special needs students, and we've continued to use UTS. And I met with the special needs department and talked to them, and can these students make that transition because of their need? Would it affect them if we could transport them this summer? And we went through the list and picked out 14 students we're going to be transporting to Margaret Ross, to Fairfax, and to ABS Madison this summer, starting June 5th and then in the month of July, which that's going to save some money too, because we were going to transport those students with UTS, which their rates have gone up from $52 to $58 per ride. We went to a meeting today, just today. Chris Langford and Chris and I went to a meeting today in the regional meeting, talking about McKinney-Vento, the foster care. And again, you're talking about mandating things without giving us the money, and they're mandating transportation for all these students, and the parent gets to choose. If they're originally a Coleraine student and they move to Fairfield or Winton Woods or even further, there's no limit, they told us today. Unfortunately, a student can move to Cleveland, and theoretically, we'd have to transport them here, although, you know, obviously that wouldn't work, but there's no limit to the McKinney-Vento transportation law. They could live in, you know, all the way out in Batavia. We'd have to transport them here if the parent chose for them to come here. So,
Terry, I have a question. When you said that rate was going from $52 to $58, what is our cost as a district for the particular kids?
well, we got a chart. We're going to show you that. We got a chart. We're going to show you that in just a minute. Yeah, so it is helping to set up and to utilize these vans. We just got to, and again, it's something that was talked about today is the need to get bodies. Everybody's short drivers everywhere. My brother-in-law, who we've taken care of for the past 42 years, special needs, he rides the blue and white buses. Their rate for their drivers was $14.28, and they couldn't get anybody. I know the manager down there. As a matter of fact, I used to work there. Bob knows Ralph Brown very well, and Ralph, they had to move the rate of pay for those drivers from $14.28, and they bumped it up to $16 an hour because no one can get drivers. We just can't. We had to double up quite a few routes this year to end the school year. We've got like 4 or 5 routes that we're doubling up on because we don't have enough drivers. So
they have to have their CDL license?
Right. They have to.
You guys talk with like Butler Tech since they run a CDL program in their adult education? Is that an option? I mean, I don't know.
We have not talked to them, but typically, I think they're training more or less truck drivers.
Right.
And I don't know if because you have to get a specific CDL with passenger and school bus endorsement.
Okay.
And I don't know that they're
Several
doing.
administrators, we're going to be meeting probably the first week or 2 of June, and we'll be discussing different ways that we can lower our transportation cost and use things like that to get drivers.
Yeah, because I mean, you know, and I don't know, John would have been the guy here, he probably could
Right.
tell you, you know, the guys that come in for the adult education to get their CDL, I mean,
I do
like
have.
you said, I'm assuming they're doing it to drive.
Right, they are, because those are the more lucrative paying jobs. But we also have a meeting up there with Butler Tech in June, so I can ask that question. And John usually is in that meeting when we go up there. The other thing that, because of the McKinney-Vento, the Foster, and then the other thing with Medicaid, Heidi, when we were transporting students who needed twofold medical and educational purposes, the Medicare programs used to pay for that. Well, the new mandate, if they're getting educational services, guess what? We get to pay for that now, and we get to transport them. So that this year, that bumped up like overnight. We found out, and then there were like 5 or 6 kids we had to automatically start paying for to utilize the UTS. UTS has been a quality service company over the years. This year, not so much. They have been just completely, as you can imagine, overwhelmed. Wanda is the school administrator of their school fleet, and she's very good. I've been working with her for multiple years, and Heidi has too, and she works very hard, but the complaints have been almost too numerous to count, and we've been doing our best to try to fend that off. And I have 3 contacts that I'm going to be making contact with this summer to try to, as the last paragraph says, to try to get a higher quality and maybe better fiscally sound some other options to use vans, because we are currently transporting 65 students, and most of those are out of the district to other places throughout Hamilton County.
So when I asked Chris to speak tonight, I wanted to look at savings. Do we have the savings that we talked about?
Yeah, he's going to present that.
One other question before you go on that. Are other districts experiencing the same problem?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I was board member for the Ohio Association of People with Transportation for several years, and it's the same thing when we meet at our annual conference. And I recently met with the transportation director and assistant transportation director for Cincinnati Public Schools. I had lunch with them, and they're having the exact same issues with UTS, with finding drivers. It's just, that's just the times that we're living in right now. And as you said, I mean, what you said couldn't have been a more truer statement. We keep getting more and more mandates from the state, but we're expected to do more and more with less. And this McKinney-Vento and the foster thing and all, and the other Medicaid, Medicare thing, that all just exaggerated that greatly this year, and it completely overwhelmed UTS.
Let's take a look at some numbers.
School districts are actually now paying employees as they're trained before they actually become employees. They're actually paying them signing bonuses. So people are trying to think outside the box to get people to come in and train school bus drivers. It's just, they're hard to find.
Yeah, and then some are paying to train them, and then they leave them as soon as they get trained to go work for somebody else.
Well, a lot of them, the school districts that are concerned about that are using signing bonuses, but after X amount of days, after a half a year, the bonus.
So the next slide is just a graph. I wanted to show you how it's increased over the past several years. So in fiscal year 08, you can see we were roughly around the $300,000 per year mark. And as you can see how it increased by fiscal year 13, we were almost up to 400,000. And now with an estimate of finishing out this year, we're looking at about $700,000 per year. Right.
And that doesn't include the homeless. That doesn't include the homeless, which we're transporting 24 students by UTS.
Correct.
Homeless.
So as we said, in fiscal year 16, the district made a wise choice to invest $40,000 in 2 new passenger vans. And as you can see, fiscal year 16, the first year that they were run, it would have cost $140,400 to transport 15 students. If we figure in our drivers' wages and benefits, along with fuel and maintenance, it would have cost us $47,350, which saved us $93,050.
That's a huge savings. That's
Yes.
for 15 students. So
That's for 15 students. The same.
You multiply that by 4.
Right. So now, as you can see, the next fiscal year, the cost went up from $52 per student to $58. You can see how the gap is even growing. So now we can realize a savings of $103,000 a year. So that's why we want to continue with the program we're on, with at least purchasing another couple vans this year, see how that works, and maybe then we can step it up a little bit and increase it.
And I've asked them to check the savings because UTS is not going to get any better with the change, and to find 3 qualified services that we can trust transporting our most important commodity, which is our students, I'm not too happy about. So if they can get qualified and meet certain requirements, but I've asked Chris, after these vans we purchase, if we could look for 2 or 3 additional more, especially since we know there's savings,
Sure.
it only makes sense.
Right.
And these newer vans can transport 9 kids compared to 6 kids. Is that savings in there, less trips that you have to make since you can get 9 kids
Sure.
in there?
But Jim, even though there are
It
9
depends.
passenger vans, you're not allowed to transport that. See, when you run into UTS and some of these other programs, we have to hire an aide to meet the UTS driver to unbuckle and buckle the kid in the seat. It's to the point of ridiculousness. So you can't fit full 9 in there. Some will need aides to
Right.
go with them.
Gotcha.
We would like to cut into that 65 as much as we can, but
And it depends on the volatility of the students as well, you know, because there's a lot of kids, you know, that can't, and Heidi could attest, can't ride with someone sitting next to them. So we'll have to leave that seat empty. And where those are the challenges too, that we work with the special needs department to know that, you know. And when you put them in the smaller quarters, you know, sometimes that bothers them too. But so that's one reason these vans, these newer vans, and they're really minimally more than what we spent, and they're a much, much bigger and better vehicle. What we can get is, it's the new type you've seen out running around, the Ford XL or whatever they call it. They're really nice looking, and they just transport more.
And lastly, you'll see that it's listed, most of the time with bid limits, you have to bid these out, but Southwestern Ohio Educational Purchasing Council has state term pricing, so it's easier to go through that instead of bringing the bids back to you like we've done in the past.
Well, I know when we bought the the service truck for the maintenance department, we were able to get government pricing on that through Ford. Are they doing that for us?
Yeah, that's the cheapest. The EPC is their cheapest bid. They went out, put the bids out for us, and we get the best prices.
Any other questions?
I appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the resolution and accept the Rush Bus Center of Ohio EPC bus bid for 5 buses and the Walt Sweeney Ford EPC passenger van bid for 2 vans as listed.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. I just want to make sure that our public understands, this obviously isn't just a black and white issue. We aren't looking just about saving money. You could just see briefly tonight the amount of time and bringing in Heidi and Terry and all the conversations that, bottom line number one, it's what's best for our students. And we're not going to do any of this if it's not going to get our kids to school safely, if it's going to disrupt their ride to school. So a lot goes into it, and I want to thank all of you for the time you've put into it. And it's just unfortunate that we get mandates that we never know what's going to be thrown at us, so it's hard to stay ahead of the game. Okay, Chris. Motion passes 5-0.
The next item is a resolution for design phase review of the construction document phase for the mechanical and electrical partial renovations at White Oak Middle School portion of the master plan being executed by the district. The superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the resolution as presented.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions? Okay, Chris. Motion passes 5-0.
The next item is donations to the Northwest Local School District. Mrs. June Morgan of the White Oak Improvement Association would like to present a donation of $7,500 to be split between Montford Heights Elementary and White Oak Middle School.
You're stealing my thunder. Okay. We have Mrs. June Morgan with us and Mr. Paul Brower. This is a bittersweet donation on their part. They are board members of the White Oak Improvement Association, and it is disbanding due to lack of membership. And so Mrs. Morgan called me and said, Pauletta, we have an opportunity to do something for the schools in our area. And between Paul and June, they decided to split the money that they had left in their budget between the parochial schools in White Oak and the public schools. So I suggested that we have White Oak and Montford Heights give us a project that they would both like to have done at their buildings. And so Sean Ryan is here to represent White Oak Middle School, and we will purchase a new stage curtain for White Oak Middle School with this money. And Caitlin Randall is here from Montford Heights Elementary, and Mr. Gale shared with me that his playground equipment is in need of repair, so a new slide will go in to replace a slide and another piece of playground equipment to replace what they have. So Mr. Brower and Ms. Morgan agreed to that, and so I would like them to actually stand up here in front, and Mrs. Detzel, if you would come down and accept the check, if you would present to Ms. Detzel, and if Caitlin and Sean would stand on either side of them here in the middle, I'd like to get a photograph.
June, is there anything you guys would like to say, or good? We just really
She told me
appreciate
no.
it. Okay.
Thank you for your patience, too. It's kind of been a long meeting.
And if the four of you would like to come out with me.
Yeah. The next item is vendor contracts. In compliance with ORC 3313.33, attached is a list of vendor contracts requiring board approval.
Do we need to vote?
All right, back to grant of easements. You are correct. Grant of easements for the installation of future access for...
Todd, wait a minute, we've got to vote to accept this check
The
here.
superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the donation to the Northwest Local School District as listed. My computer is cutting in.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Let's go ahead and vote on this.
Before I get down to...
Yeah, before.
I would just like to thank them for their donation. Really appreciate that. Sad to see an organization like that disband.
Yes, it's, motion passes 5-0. Thank you.
All right, the next one is grant of easements for the installation and future access for maintenance of new utilities. Attached are grants of easements for Struble, Taylor, and Pleasant Run properties. This will grant Duke Energy access for the installation and future maintenance of new electrical services on these properties. Superintendent recommends the Board of Education grant the easements to Duke Energy, authorizing access for the installation and future maintenance of new electrical services as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Anybody have any questions? Chris? Motion passes 5-0.
Next item is vendor contracts in compliance with ORC 3313.33. Attached is a list of vendor contracts requiring board approval. Superintendent and Treasurer recommend the Board of Education approve the vendor contracts as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded on the vendor contracts. Questions? Motion passes 5-0.
The next item is certificated licensed personnel items. Superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the certificated licensed personnel items as listed.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions on the certificated and licensed personnel items? Chris? Motion passes 5-0.
The next item is a resolution approving the new master agreement with NAE and approving wage increase to non-teaching school employees. Resolution approving new master agreement with NAE and approving wage increases to non-teaching school employees. The superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the resolution approving new master agreement with NAE and approving wage increases to non-teaching school employees as listed.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. I would like to say I am thrilled that we were able to so quickly come to an agreement, and looking forward to moving forward and getting you guys up there a little bit away from the bottom of the barrel here. Anybody else?
Thanks to Amy and the rest of the negotiation team for thinking outside the box to make this happen. Yeah.
I know you guys worked really hard on this on both sides. I appreciate the environment in which it was, in which the agreement was reached, and it's really good to see that there's a lot more contention in a lot more other districts around us now. This was good.
Okay, are you ready to vote? Motion passes 5-0.
Next item is classified personnel items. The superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the classified personnel items as listed.
So moved. Second.
Moved in second. Questions? Chris? Motion passes 5-0.
Next item is textbook adoption for action. Summary English Language Arts, Grade 2, National Geographic Reach for Reading. Publisher, Cengage Learning, copyright 2016. The superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the adoption of the textbooks as listed.
So moved. Second.
Moved in second on the textbook adoption. Chris? Motion passes 5-0.
The next item is a curricular item, Also, online curriculum adoption. The superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the adoption of the online curriculum as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded on the online curriculum adoption we talked about last meeting for German 3 and 4. Questions? Chris? Motion passes 5-0.
The next item is elementary and middle school fees. The curriculum department is presenting the proposed student fees for 2017-18. Fee lists are attached. The superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the elementary and middle school fees for 2017 and 2018 as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Just want to remind everybody, fees went down in every grade level, but I believe it was at 4th grade, which went up $1. So great job with our staff working together to save our families and make sure money's spent well. Okay, Chris? Motion passes 5-0.
The next item is for information. It is a fiscal item. It is the district handbook student activities. Attachments, changes have been made. Look it over. If you have any questions, please let us know, and we'll get the answers back to you. We will be coming back for action at the next June board meeting,
Okay.
along with a lot of other handbooks.
Okay, Todd.
All right. Daryl gave me good news right before around 6 o'clock. I think he sent the email. The CSTEM has been accepted for the OSBA Student Achievement Fair in Columbus on November 14th. It will be from 10:30 to 2. So we're excited about that. Leslie Silbernagle has done an outstanding job along with Daryl and Jenny, so it's greatly appreciated. Northwest High School graduation was this past Saturday. Tomorrow night is Colerain High School graduation, starting at 7 o'clock. And that's all I have.
Okay. Real quick, before we move into community comments, I just want to remind everybody, I know it seems like we're just going through real quick voting, but all of us get a copy of the agenda last week. We have a chance to go over everything. Many of the things we're voting on this meeting were talked about previous meeting. We have the opportunity, if there's any questions, we can contact any of the administrators, the superintendent. So we're not just coming here and just blindly voting tonight. So it's all things that we've all looked at and knew what was coming. So at this point, this is the part in the meeting for community comments. You don't have to fill out a card. It just gives the opportunity that if there's anything that was discussed during the meeting, if you have any questions on regarding anything that was discussed tonight, you can just ask. Kevin?
So I want to take this opportunity to thank the board for approving the tentative agreement. The Northwest Association of Educators had our ratification meeting this afternoon, and we voted to accept the tentative agreement. And so thank you for accepting or passing the tentative agreement as well. I do want to thank the members of the administration and Jim for negotiating. We had a good 2 days of discussions and more work to do in the future to make sure that we're always working in the right direction or moving in the right direction. I thought we came to an understanding and agreement on a lot of items that we will continue to have conversations about. But I just want to thank everybody for the process and for the conclusion.
I want to second that. You guys did a very good job, and everybody was very civil, and it went pretty smooth, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, busy 2 days, but
Yes.
it was nice that we got it done
Yep.
and got it taken care of. So, thanks, Jim.
Awesome, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, at this time, we'll go ahead and do board member comments because I believe we're moving into an executive session, so we'll do those now. Chris?
Thanks, man. Just wanted to address what was brought up earlier with our speaker from the community. I work in the healthcare field in the inner city, and this problem isn't just education. 75% of the patients where I work are minority. We have a lot of immigrants too, probably 5%. But you know how many minority providers we have in terms of people who actually do taking care of the patients? Zero. And it's not because of anything other than we just can't recruit. We don't pay as well as private practice, universities, and it's just very frustrating that people come in and they like to see people who, you know, sort of can maybe relate to them a little better versus somebody who grew up in the suburbs or somewhere else. So this problem is a lot of places, and we hear what you're saying, and trust me, I mean, this has been an issue since I've been on the board, and I think it all just comes down to dollars and cents, sir. So, you know, I just want you to know that it's not exclusive to education. It's I think, I don't know about the law business, but I think a lot of the professional areas, it's all comes down to who pays the most. That's it, Pam.
Michael?
It was really great to see everybody at the Northwest graduation on Saturday, and looking forward to Colerane's tomorrow night.
Okay, Bob?
It's great to see the employees be recognized for the work that they do, both the educators and the bus drivers that we had here tonight. We have a lot of great people that work for our district. I'm glad that we were able to figure out a way to improve their compensation through the new contract. So I think that's a big step forward for our district, and hopefully we can continue to retain the people that we do develop and come to our district to work for us. And that's an important thing. We need some continuity for the students that we educate. That, you know, we want them to be able to go home, and when the younger siblings are coming through school, say, "Oh, cool, you got Mr. So-and-so or Mrs. So-and-so. I had them when I was in the 7th grade," or whatever. I mean, right now we don't have a whole lot of that, so hopefully we'll be able to retain our staff, and we'll become much more effective that way.
Jim?
Yeah, I just kind of want to piggyback on what Bob said, and just the negotiations went well. Hopefully the teachers will be happy getting a raise. And it was 2 days. It was pretty quick, I thought, because I know I was sitting on the Butler Tech one, and that went 4 days. So yeah, that was a good sign. And then I want to congratulate the boys track 4x1 who set the new school record on Friday night at Winton Woods at the district meet. And Keontae Jones, who won the long jump. And Wednesday night and Friday night, we will be up at Dayton for the regional meet. So,
and that's Coleraine High School.
Yeah, that's at Coleraine High School, and would appreciate everybody come on up if they can.
Well, I'll have to add on to that because I did share with Todd. I was very impressed. Coleraine High School has a sophomore. He's only a sophomore, one of their high jumpers, that actually was seeded to win the district title. And with the storms and everything, the track meet everything got pushed so close together that he gave up his individual to run on that relay that ended up breaking the school record. So he doesn't get to advance to regionals, which he very well would have moved
Yeah, he had a really good shot. Well, and they won the 4x2 also, right. So, you know, he's on both of those relays. And
but it was it was pretty cool with that. Everybody's pretty much said everything as far as Northwest graduation. I mentioned Carlos Boyd. I really enjoyed the graduation, how all the different kids and all the different activities were acknowledged. I think that's always important. The thing that gets me every time, in Northwest in particular, is when they have the kids stand up who have committed to the armed forces, and immediately the student body gives them a standing ovation, and it just gives me goosebumps from head to toe. I look at those kids and think
They've made such an adult decision. They're going to defend our country, and they're getting recognized by their peers who are thanking them and showing appreciation. And it just gets me every time, and I'm sure we'll see it again tomorrow night with Coleraine. On a sad note, I'd like to send condolences to Ed Meyers' family. Mr. Meyer was a principal at Pleasant Run Elementary when our kids were there. He also was a principal at Taylor, I think maybe Houston as well. He passed away, today. It was either today or yesterday. And I just want to, I know he has kids and grandkids, and just want him to know that we appreciated his years here at Northwest School District. The one thing I was always in awe of is this man every year knew the name of every single student at Pleasant Run Elementary. On the first day of school to the last day of school, he could call each of them by their name, and I just always thought that was so cool. So I was sorry to hear of his passing. With that, I will take a motion to move into executive session. Todd, do you want to read this?
The board will approve a motion to move into executive session to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee or official. Superintendent recommends that the Board of Education approve the motion to move into executive session as listed.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Chris? Motion passes 5-0. Will we be taking any